Well, welcome back to another one of my videos, and this time it's from Preston, where in about half an hour I'm going to start running a seminar to support mostly Lancashire constabulary candidates. So what are we going to look at in this video? Well, one of the things that we're going to be covering later on in the seminar in preparation for the interview phase of the assessment centre is community engagement. So two of the questions in the interview phase are going to be about values and motivation. And some of the subjects I cover to help people prepare for this, because I don't know what the questions are going to be, are we start off with a code of ethics, and then we start looking at things like integrity and respect and why those values within the code of ethics are so important. From there we move on to concepts such as organisational justice, procedural justice, and then moving into legitimacy and why legitimacy is so important in the policing context. From here, we'll start looking at why legitimacy is so important, and the big catch-all there, I suppose, is community engagement. So some of the things that we're going to be looking at, and if you can't make any of my seminars or online courses, I suggest you look at, is the meaning of community engagement. First of all, define it. Exactly what is community engagement? And then moving into, why do we do it? I mean, why would the police need to engage with communities? We often hear about police forces talking about community engagement, but why is it so important? What's its purpose? If they're just doing it because it's a nice to do, well, I'm sorry, but we can't afford to do that in these austere times. Everything that the police do has to have a purpose. Otherwise, it's a nice to do. And we can't afford to do nice to do anymore. We've got to do things that have an absolute purpose. So we'll be taking a look there about how community engagement, when done properly, can be a way of providing members of the community with really good information, but also going beyond there, looking at how we can go from information providing all the way to co-producing solutions to problems in communities. And that's the thing that I'm really interested in, is that co-production. If we take a look at what a police officer is, if we look at Sir Robert Peel and what he said about policing, he said that the police should always remember the historic tradition that the police are the public and the public are the police. Now, we often hear that rolled out, but what does it actually mean? Well, he goes on to explain it further. The police are the public and the public are the police just being members of the public who are paid full time to carry out a role which is incumbent on all citizens in the interest of community welfare and existence. He didn't talk about reducing crime, he talked about community welfare and existence. So we'll link that to why do we do community engagement and the types of community engagement. And like I said, moving into co-production. Because if the police are just citizens, the same as everyone else, well, we've all got a responsibility to not reduce crime, but to ensure that we have strong communities where the welfare and existence is taken care of. Now, if you could have used the word social capital, I think Robert Peel would have used that, but I'm not quite sure if that phrase was knocking around back then in 1829. So we're going to take a look then at social capital and why social capital is so important, and why forces like Greater Manchester Police are really focusing on this now, because they can see that it is the way to reduce demand. Not just Greater Manchester Police, but I know West Midlands Police as well are very interested in it. Dave Thompson, their Chief Constable, outstanding Chief Officer, really driving this concept that we need to not just do everything for communities. Communities have got a role to play, not in reducing crime, but in informing and enabling strong communities. Strong communities are more resilient to child sexual exploitation, to terrorism, to mental health issues. The children that grow up in strong communities are less likely to become involved in crime and antisocial behaviour and other activities which aren't productive. So we'll move there into the aspiration for the police service. If we listen to Chief Constables like Ian Hopkins, he's already talking about funding things like participatory budgeting as a way of reducing demand across all services and enabling and building strong communities. And we're going to take a look at how all of that works. Now, you might be thinking, wow, that sounds a little bit woohoo. Well, that's what you need to do. I want you to completely knock the assessor for six, because at the assessment centre you're going to get an assessor, the interviewer, who's completely not interested in you. Your job, your task is to get them excited about what you're talking about, to get them to sit up and listen to you. Fall off their metaphorical chair with the quality of what you're talking about. So we're going to talk about the aspirations for the police service, and not just the police service, but for all partner agencies. So we're going to look at concepts around less public servant and more citizen enabler. So you might be thinking, where's all this coming from? Well, in a previous life I was a neighbourhood inspector for several years, and I pioneered some of these approaches within the police service. So when Chief Constables like Ian Hopkins talk about rolling out participatory budgeting, I was doing this 10 years ago. So I've pioneered a lot of these techniques, sometimes referred to as things like asset-based community development, or you'll also hear phrases like appreciative inquiry, but applying those to communities as a way of focusing and building on what's strong, not on what is broken. So less you said we did, and more you said and we said. How can we support each other? Now, I've spoken at conferences about this sort of stuff. I spoke at the Police Foundation conference in December 2017. I've spoken at several other conferences before that. And I'm also on the International Advisory Board for a European project called Unity, which is looking to enhance and strengthen the relationship between citizens and the police right across Europe. And I've done work around this in forces like Gloucestershire and for councils such as Oxford Council and Mansfield Council. So I've been doing some of this work outside of the sort of recruitment domain, if you like. So what you're going to get later on in the seminar is good stuff. It's the sort of stuff that Chief Constables are very interested in. I know that because I've spoken to them. It's the sort of stuff that the Home Office are very interested in. I know that because I've spoken to them as well. So I look forward to sharing with everyone this afternoon some of these concepts, so that they've got, if they are asked any questions around this subject, they completely knock the assessor off the chair. So thanks very much for listening to this video. If you'd like to watch more of them and you're watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe to my channel, and every time I publish a new video, it'll be there waiting for you in your email queue. And if you're watching this on Facebook, please do like this video, and I shall send you an invite to my secret, that's what Facebook call it, Police Recruitment Support Group. Now over 3,000 members of that group. Oh my goodness, it's growing at a rate that I never anticipated. So I've already coached and supported probably 2,500 to 3,000 people into the police service. That's about 2.5% of all the police in the country. If all of those 3,000 get in, my goodness, I will have supported and helped over 5% of all the police in the country. Wow, we're really racking it up now at blue light. So anyway, thanks again for watching this, and if you'd like any further suggestions on what my future videos should be, please do let me know in the comments box below, and I'll see you at the next one. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye-bye.